Getting the job done right and on time. How to manage projects and priorities. Pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. Thank you, Aristotle. How you as the leader handle project management can determine whether a task or a project is a success or a failure. In the next session, you'll learn how to become a more effective manager by gaining control over your projects and priorities, starting with the famous Covey quadrants. Important and urgent is quadrant number 1. Important, not urgent is quadrant number 2. Not important but urgent is quadrant number 3, and not important, not urgent is quadrant number 4. Now you may have heard these quadrants over time. I'm going to give you a little twist on these to help you remember them in the future. And I'm going to assign a time frame or a percentage of your day so you know how best to spend your time. Now this is going to be an action item for you also for the next 21 to 30 days. Every time something crosses your desk, comes in your path, gets in your inbox, I want you to ask yourself, what quadrant does this belong to before you just take the action? Let's begin with important and urgent. The metaphor that I use for this is firefighter mode. Have you ever known a firefighter, been a firefighter, watched a movie or a television show about firefighters? So my question for you is, what do firefighters do? You got it. Put out fires. Now I know that's a rhetorical question and I know you have the answer to that. The reason I start with a rhetorical question is because sometimes you're putting out fires that don't belong to you. Here's how you can determine if it is your fire. Ask yourself, can I go any further in my day without this being done? If the answer is no, then it might be important and urgent. So for example, if you come to work and you absolutely positively have to use a computer as part of your job, and your computer is down for the day, not only is it important, it's part of your job and your responsibility, it is urgent. It must be taken care of immediately. This again would be firefighter mode. So a firefighter example here, if a firefighter is doing something else, when the bells go off, they stop what they're doing and they go to work to put out the fire. Easy way for you to remember that one. Let's move now to important, not urgent. Again, going back to the firefighter analogy. When a firefighter is not putting out fires, what are they doing? Preventing fires. Whether it be training, working out, testing equipment, educating the community, testing sprinklers, whatever they're doing, they are going out of their way to prevent fires from occurring. This is where Stephen Covey says you want to spend the most of your time, dealing with what's important to you, your job description, your department. Only it's not urgent because you're not reacting to it, you are responding to it. You've planned for it, you know it's coming, and that is where you want to spend the bulk of your time. Let's move to quadrant 3, not important but urgent. Not important, all that means is it's not important to you. Now it might be important to somebody else. It's just not your fire. Here's an example. When a firefighter is in their station house, they're waiting for the tones to go off to alert them to a fire. There may be several sets of tone. Let's say the first one would be doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, eh. Let's just say that for example. Now, doo-doo-doo might be, this is the district where the fire is. And then doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, this may be what kind of call this is. Is this a medical emergency? Is this a fire emergency? And then dee might be, this is station 1, this is station 2. In this case, it would be station 3. Now, this is just an example. Different firehouses have different calls. The main thing is, recognize what's your call and what's somebody else's call. So if you know it's for your house, your fire that needs to be put out, you're going to recognize and begin to listen for your tones. Something that would be not important but urgent or somebody else's fire might be you can hear somebody in the hallway. Across the hall, they're in the copier room, and you hear this ah, darn it, the copier's jammed again. And your impulse might be, oh, I'm going to jump up and run to their fire and put the fire out for them. Now realize, you might be that go-to person who's been doing that for far too long. And the only way you can break that habit is by saying to yourself, this is not my fire. And consider yourself staying put. It's not my tone, it's not my station. Stay put. Here are a couple other interruptions that can occur with the not important but urgent. Somebody can come into your workstation and say, I know you're really busy, but I have something that needs your attention, or please could you help me with this, or this is a last minute thing. I don't know how this happened. Now there are times with quadrant 3 where other people's emergencies do come into your day. Plan for them. Make time for them, and then ask yourself, is this my responsibility to help them, or is this their lack of planning? Now, if it's an exception, of course, give your help. If, on the other hand, this person is in the habit of bringing you their fires because you put them out for them, then you can use a couple of other tactics. You can say, gosh, I've got some things I'm finishing up for the next 15 minutes. If for some reason this hasn't resolved itself, check back with me and I'll see if I can work this into my day. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little IT secret. I learned this from an IT expert who said, Dawn, most IT fires put themselves out without my help within 15 minutes or less. So you might need to let the fire put itself out. Another technique that you can use when somebody comes in with something that's important, not important to you, it's important to them, only it's urgent, is they might say, oh, do you have a minute? Tell them, I have about 3, how can I help you? Now 3 is a weird time frame. My question for you though is, if you say 3, do you think they have a better chance of hearing it than if you just say, yeah, I got a minute, what can I do for you? So use a different time number. Yeah, I've got about 3 minutes, how can I help you? My other question for you is, can you assess in about 3 minutes whether or not it's your fire? Because sometimes you might need to hear an employee. Sometimes supervisors make the mistake of saying, I don't have time to hear you, I don't have time to hear you. So the employee doesn't get to deliver something that really the supervisor needed to hear. Take 90 seconds, take 3 minutes, listen, assess if it is your priority. If not, go back to the technique I used just a moment ago, the 15-minute technique, or say, I may have some time this afternoon about 2 o'clock. Check back in with me, and if you still need help with this, I will carve out about 15 minutes this afternoon. The last section, or the last quadrant, is quadrant 4, not important, not urgent. I refer to this one as the cat in the tree. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen the skeleton of a kitty cat in the neighborhood tree? Probably not. You see, in the olden days, people used to call when their cat got caught in the tree. The fire truck would come out, the ladder would go up, and inevitably the cat would jump out by itself, or be gone by the time the firefighters got there. And so you don't want to waste your time chasing cats in tree that are not your priority and they're not urgent. Realize also there are some other hidden time wasters. Salary.com did a survey of 10,000 people, and they determined that up to 44% of the people wasted almost 2 hours a day on hidden time wasters that were not important and not urgent. These things were including surfing the internet for personal use, taking longer lunches, using company time for things that were not work-related. The list went on and on. Answering online surveys during company time. Are you answering this survey at work? Yeah, up to 2 hours a day. And one of the biggest contributing factors was the employee didn't take scheduled breaks. So let me walk you through how to break down the quadrants in terms of time. For important and urgent, expect about 20% of your day to be spent in this quadrant. Now that's about anywhere from about an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes of your day putting out fires, the unexpected, the surprises, the things that you have to positively, absolutely do, or you can't go on with your day. Realize it's not always going to be in an hour and a half or an hour and 45 minute increments. It might be 5 minutes here, 7 minutes there, 12 minutes there. Get in the habit of narrowing your minutes, narrowing your time, and spend about 20% of your time putting out fires. About 50% of your time preventing fires. 50%. If that's an 8-hour day, that's 4 hours of your day preventing fires. And remember, you are most optimal according to scientific studies in the morning. Your brain is primed for your priorities. Do not waste your time at the beginning of the morning checking your Facebook, checking your emails, checking your voicemails. Focus on your priorities for the day. Put them in your quadrant 2 to plan your work and work your plan. Then when you check your emails, your voicemail, your social media, you ask yourself, is this my priority, or is this a waste of time or somebody else's fire? For quadrants 3 and 4, there's only 30% of your day left. Divide that between quadrants 3 and 4. Anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half per quadrant, depending on the person or the time. When you're assessing your time and your priorities over the next 21 to 30 days, the goal is to live in quadrant 2. When you plan your work and work your plan, you are no longer reacting to emergencies. You're planning for them, and you are striking a work-life balance. Part of planning for those fires includes understanding the project life cycle. Every project has a 6-stage process. Once you understand what those stages are or where you are in the process, you can keep the project and your employees within the project moving forward. Let's briefly go through those 6 stages, and then I'll break them down for you. The first stage is define. The second stage is plan. The third stage is execute. The fourth stage is complete. The fifth stage is evaluate. And the sixth stage is celebrate. Now you notice the project has to get off the ground. And so I like to say that monitor and adjust are the wings that give your project flight. So if we start with defining, please write down in your notes or remember in your mind, this is the what and why of the project. What are we doing and why are we doing it? The planning stage, this is when we go into detail. How are we doing this? Who is doing this? When are we doing this? Where are we doing this? And why are we doing this again? People will get stuck and go in circles if you don't remind them why they are doing something. And they'll sometimes start to grumble and complain unless you tell them why they're doing it. This goes back to what's in it for you, what's in it for them, what's in it for the company, what's in it for the client. Remind them what's in it for them and the project. And then execute. As Nike would say, just do it. At some point, we've done enough defining. What are we doing and why are we doing it? At some point, we've done enough planning. As soon as you're starting to feel like analysis paralysis is setting in because you're not just doing it, it is time to let that project take off. And then monitor and adjust. How is this working? How is this project going? Because the project is not set in stone. It is in wet cement. And you can monitor and adjust as needed. At some point, you're going to complete the project. And that's what makes it a project. There is a closure to the project. Then you evaluate what worked and what can be improved upon for next time. And make sure to celebrate. Give yourself, give your team some sort of a reward. And again, that can be a recognition for a job well done. That can be a meeting spotlighting certain people within the project. And make sure that if you have the budget, go out and do something fun with the team. Now that you understand the 6-stage process for every project, let's move into 5 steps that will help you define and plan your projects. Step number 1, identify the participants. Who is involved in the job? What skills do they have? What are the requirements of the job or the project or the tasks within the project? Does the person have the skills, behavior, and attitude to do those tasks on time with the highest quality and within budget? Step number 2, define the rough constraints. What are the constraints on this project of time, quality, budget. What is required for this project in order for it to be a success? Step number 3, analyze the missing constraints. What is missing? What do we need to have in order for this project to be a success? Step number 4, identify preliminary management issues. What are some things going on behind the scenes? Are there multiple bosses? Are there multiple stakeholders? Are there people involved that are not going to be in the project? And then step number 5, examine the triple constraints of time, budget, and performance, or as I've referred to throughout this training, time, budget, and quality. Here are some additional tips. When it comes to accepting responsibilities, sometimes you might just have to say no to things that are beyond your area of expertise. It is okay to say no. It is okay to delegate, and it is okay to say, this is not my fire. Some other things you can do: organize and prioritize. Everything has a place, and there's a place for everything. And think to yourself big picture. Step back from the details. Ask yourself, am I majoring in the minors, or is this a big picture detail? Review, where are you at in the process? Delegate, ask yourself consistently, what can I delegate to somebody else or something else that can do it better, cheaper, or faster than me? And reconsider the process. Are you wasting time in this process, or is this an effective process? Some other tips that will help you: use your goals to set daily priorities. List your goals and those of your department and company. Assign a number with each goal, 1 being the highest priority, 5 being the lowest priority. This will show you which goals are your top priorities. So again, these are your exercises for the next 21 to 30 days. Assess what really is important to you and what are hidden time wasters. In this session, you learned about projects and how to prioritize. You recognized the difference between important and urgent. You understood the project life cycle, 9 steps for project planning, and setting daily priorities using goals. For our next section, we'll talk about communication skills that truly make the difference.